Hi, this is Tom Mura from World Class Coaching with another in our series of animated drills. What I thought I would do this week is kind of finish off my futsal set. We did futsal videos for the last two sessions here, and so I thought I would do a video on the free kicks that I do with my teams. I also thought I'd take an opportunity to show you how PlanetTraining works in terms of creating sets of diagrams under the same topic. So if I want to have futsal restarts, I can create a number of diagrams that show our different types of restarts all within one exercise. So it makes it easy to kind of organize and have everything for futsal restarts all in one place without having to create individual diagrams. The nice thing too, I was able to copy and then paste these so they were quick and easy to put together. I've already put together the basic diagrams though, so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about, and we can move players around within it. So this first one is our kick-in. Now, when we're doing a kick-in, and let me say this at the beginning, none of these are incredibly complicated. They're all simple, but the reason that I do them this way is so that it creates options for the players. I want them to be simple to set up and then create options for the players to decide, okay, where should I go with the ball? Then it's up to them to make the decisions and make the correct choices based on what the defense is giving them. So that's the premise of everything that I'm putting together here today with our free kicks and our kick-ins. So a very important rule in futsal is that the defenders can't be any nearer than 5 meters, 5 yards from the ball. So we use that to our advantage by putting a target player here, and we talk about having this player shield or seal off this defender so that the defender can't reach the ball. So now the ball can be played in to that player's feet. The player who took the kick in obviously is open, can come in and receive the ball back, and now we're playing. So that's option number one. Option number two, and I want this always available, is I want this far side forward. We play in a box with 2 defenders and 2 forwards. I want this far side forward to open up the space by coming wide. Ideally, if the defender follows them and they're able to seal off or shield that defender, great. But most good defenders are going to try to be on the inside shoulder of that attacker, and it's just going to keep drawing them inside, and it's going to take that space away if our attacker keeps coming inside to try to stay in front. So if the defender is going to insist on being inside, at least I want to draw that defender as far out as I can by staying on the far side and trying to pull that defender out. So then we've got the other defender on our team on the far side of the field. Now you might think it might be better to have this player here, and if this kick-in was taking place farther up the field, if this kick-in was taking place, say at midfield or in the attacking third of the field, then we'd certainly have that opposite defender up and creating a supporting option. But the great thing here is we've got the goalkeeper to do that. So the goalkeeper can be played here, and then we can go out the other side, and now we can take advantage of this forward that we've kept on the far side of the field by getting them in a 1v1 situation if we can, or potentially playing directly from the goalkeeper into that player if that's an option. So that's our basic setup for all kick-ins. The only exception is when we get close to the other team's corner, then we would revert to our corner kick free kick, or our corner kick plays, our corner kick setup, so that we can take advantage of the area and our shape in that part of the field. So I'll move on now. So that's the kick in, and then I'll show you our basic corner kick structure. And I do this with all of my teams, regardless of age group. It's a really simple structure that makes it easy for the players to choose what to do. So we have one player on the ball taking the kick in. We have one player, again, we've got this 5-yard rule that the players have to be back. So we take advantage of that by pulling a second player in. It's not like a short corner outdoor where I want that player really close, because that'll make it easier for the defenders. I want to pull that defender out 4 to 5 yards to create some angles and create some options. We have one defender back because corner kicks are a great way to counterattack if the other team wins the ball quickly, so we want to have some cover. And then I want to have one player, our far side forward, opening up to this far side. with the idea of being able to come in and find windows between defenders, finding spaces between defenders to win the ball. But I want them to start farther out, again, to try to draw defenders out, at least to draw their attention, at least make it difficult for them to watch the ball and the man at the same time, and make them, forced to turn their head quickly. And hopefully, if they're looking away, we can take advantage of that with ball movement. So our first choice would be, if for some reason the other team were to leave a big window there, to try to get that player inside that window, if we can, to try to reach them. Most of teams are going to defend better than that, so they're going to keep a player in there and cut off that window, so we can play short to this player, creating angles. Obviously, this player would continue on up the line or perhaps stay on the player's shoulder, depending on how far this player is allowed to dribble and allowed to go forward. So this other player would join them as well. And then we've got choices from here. So we can try to play that window to the far side. We can start over and play the player back here in order to maybe switch the play. But it just gives us options, and it's a very simple setup that hopefully spreads the other team out a bit and makes it easier for us to find options. So now I've skipped on to our other corner kick option. We only do two. We've got number one and number two. And number two, we try to create a little deception here. So we have three players stacked up. And this is also a little risky because we're not leaving a covering player. But it's a risk we're willing to take to try to create a goal-scoring opportunity if we want to use this. And so they're going to keep one player in front of the ball just to prevent this through ball. I'd say 90% of the time that teams are going to do this. And now we can take our three and stack them either on the top of the area or just outside the area. And the other team will generally either line up with us to try to track us man for man, or drop a little deeper in order to try to play a bit more of a zone. Most of the time in futsal, you're going to find that teams play more of a man-to-man, especially at the younger ages, because they're just not capable of dealing with those soft areas between the zones. So coaches want to keep everybody matched up and try to just defend 1v1. And we're taking advantage of that with this free kick by driving these first two players toward the goal. We want them going toward the goal and in front of these players. Now, there's no picking allowed in futsal, just like there's no picks allowed in the NFL. But if you watched games recently, you'll have seen that it definitely happens, even if it's against the rules. Obviously, we don't want these players setting up like a basketball pick and stopping and trying to look like they're creating a pick. What we want them doing instead is driving toward the goal, forcing these defenders to track them. As they do that, our third player comes around the corner, and now this player is either in a situation where they get kind of scrubbed off by these defenders so they can't follow because they run into a defender or one of our players, or at least they're trailing behind the play. So when this player comes around the corner, they're open and can find a shot from a ball that's played in from that side in, and we have a one-touch shot, at least an opportunity on goal. So a little deception there. This is one that you can do multiple times, but obviously it's going to wear a little thin as far as its effectiveness as teams figure it out. If they start to get tricky and try to keep a player there for these players to drive in and then they keep somebody at home, what you can do is you can try to find that window in between these players and find him coming in. That's an option that we have. So we'll often try this more than once just to see if we can continue to get away with it. Also, you'll have, obviously, the players that were on the first time maybe aren't on the second time, so they're not as aware of it. And even if the coach is trying to make them aware of it, then they don't track the movements, they don't slide forward to cover the spaces, and we're able to get people open. So this is one that we like to try. It's good for the kids. It kind of creates a little creativity, imagination, gets them thinking about it, trying to create options in different ways. So that's that corner kick. And so those are our basic two corner kicks that we do. Really don't make it too complicated. It's either number one or number two. Number one is the most likely choice just because of its basic formation. And then if we want to get tricky, we go to number two. Now with free kicks, there are two obviously types of free kicks, just like outdoor. We have indirect and direct free kicks. With indirect free kicks, we have two players on the ball. One player has their foot over the ball so that they can fake as if they're going to touch the ball. And if that draws these players forward, as it often does, on an indirect kick, these players will jump, then this player will ask the referee to move them back again. So we want to try to maximize the space we get because we only get 5 yards from the ball. So having that little fake by this first player in order to try to draw these defenders in is a useful way of not only buying a little extra time for the kick, because if these players encroach on that free kick, the referee's going to start the count over and going to give us our 4 seconds, but also, freeze them and create that room. So now here, the player, with the touch, then moves that ball, make sure that he kicks in, moves the ball, and then this player can shoot. This player can find a player across. If this player collapses in and maybe they go 3 in the wall, then we can even one touch it across to this player finding a shot. Or potentially, if this wall breaks up on this indirect kick and creates a gap, then this player can get into the back post and finish. So that's for indirect free kicks, which happen quite often near the penalty area. There's not a lot of room to create options, so we keep it pretty simple in that area of the field. Now, with our direct free kicks, we try to maintain the same idea and the same shape. So when we're doing a direct free kick, and I'll just show you these now, then we keep that same formation, but our movement and our ideas are a little bit different. So now we have 2 players on the ball, but this first player runs over the ball and comes to the end of the field. And it's really important when they run over it that they go to the end line and they try to be a little bit behind the ball, making the job of this player a bit easier so they can come up now and they can play what they see. So this player, if for some reason these players split and the player tracks this player here, maybe we can get the player in on the far post, the attacking player, in on the far post and try to find them in that area with a splitting pass between these 2 defenders. If we can do that, then we can find him in a dangerous area. If this player collapses in on that run down the line, maybe we find that player across. The most likely option is that these players are caught by surprise. They think they're doing their job by staying in the wall, and then the ball is able to be played directly down to the player on the end line because this player is wide open in behind the defense. Now we want players crashing here and making the goal bigger here so that we can try to find them for a finish. So the idea being just create a little movement, a little uncertainty in the defense, and hopefully that creates some options for us. So, these are basic kick-in, free kick, corner kick options in futsal. They would apply equally to indoor soccer. They could be used just the same. There's the same restriction on having players a certain distance from free kicks, not so much with kick-ins, but obviously there is. You can still only have a wall within 5 yards, I believe, just like in futsal. So you have those same options if you're playing the indoor game. So hopefully this helps and you get some ideas from this that you can use with your own teams. Thanks a lot.